What's good, people? Welcome back to the North London Gooner podcast and welcome to 2025. Happy New Year, everybody. We're all here, non-techie and France in the building. I hope Arsenal are going to have a successful year and a good new year. And we've kicked it off 3-1 against Brentford. We're going to be touching on that today. Then we're going to go a little bit into what we can do in January on and off the pitch to make sure that we can at least try and close a gap that we gave up, to be completely honest, as a team. So we'll be giving our honest reflections of that. But to kick things off, starting with non-techie, how have you been? Happy New Year. Chat to me, man. What's going
Happy
on?
New Year, guys. Happy New Year. Yeah, been really good. Been looking forward to getting back into the football, particularly because for this game week we had to wait quite a while on New Year's Day of all days, and so I think the past game week that weekend was a good hate watch, with the exception of maybe Liverpool winning their game, but like with United continue dropping points, Chelsea drop points, but a hate watch never really feels complete until you get the 3 points on board, or unless you play first, then you get hate watch in peace. So yeah, it was a really good start to the year, and nice to get 3 points on the board as well.
Nah, for real, I back that for sure. Good start, but can we continue the momentum? We'll be chatting about that. France, what are you saying as well?
Yeah, Happy New Year. It's good to be back. It's good to see Arsenal back to to some degree, and it's just good to have football back all around. I think um, we know how it is sort of when you go into those breaks between football games, especially with internationals and other sort of useless basis competitions. But it's good when you finally do get back in the running, and even better when you sort of kick it off with a win. So.
100%. I mean, there's no better way to start the new year. We were also the first game up to kick off 2025, and especially with the other teams losing. Chelsea dropping points to Ipswich, Man United doing Man United things this season. That's a typical standard day in the office. We needed to pick up points, and we did. And we usually don't do that. We usually don't capitalize when we need to. Let's go a bit into the statistics. Wow, this laptop is flying, people. Wow. My old MacBook Pro, man, that thing was chugging. That wouldn't have been that quick.
All your
The
tabs on Chrome open, bro.
input lag is like 0.1, and you know I've got a million tabs, people. But anyway, um, 3-1 Arsenal yesterday. Let's chat through the start of the game. Like looking at the stats, loads of shots, about less than half on target though. Three goal scorers on the clean sheet. The front line clearly had, some level of clinical nature to their game yesterday, even though I'd say there's parts we always can improve. But talk me through, guys, the first goal we conceded, because once again, I feel like we conceded a very silly goal again. Calafiori's defending. I think a lot of the talk before the game was, do we go with MLS, Miles Lewis Skelly, that is, or do we go with Calafiori? And who do we decide to go with for that game, given that Lewis Skelly had 2 games, solid games, proving his worth on the ball, moving up the pitch, but also defensively as well. We decided to go with Calafiori, and, well, Odegaard starts the mess, and then it leads down Calafiori's side, and then Bremo, who, has been touted as somebody who some people amongst the fan base would like to get. He converted, but France, we'll stick with you. What did you make of the first goal we conceded before ultimately things picked up?
Well, again, I think it was a silly goal to give away, really. I think this stems from Erdegaard in the initial sort of phase of play, in which he attempts to pass it from the mid portion of the field all the way to the left, and then hopefully try and kick off an attack. But it was an ill thought out move. It was easy for the defender to read, and literally it's just intercepted with almost quite little effort. I think the defender goes to the ground in order to get the ball, but it's not like he had to. He could have stood and got the ball, and then it gets ticked over, I think, to Wissa. And then from there, I mean, it's just a drive. Sorry, it wasn't to Wissa. It was to another
Yeah.
player. But from there, it's just a massive drive through the center of the pitch. Embuemo on the right hand side, just bombing it down. Um, Again, he has his moments where he's really, really quick. But in this phase of play, he doesn't necessarily attempt to break the line. He more wants to stretch the line. Then receives the ball quite wide of Calafiori on the right, and then proceeds to sort of encroach inwards. Now Calafiori just does an abysmal job, and we'll talk about him more, I'm sure. But his job of defending is just really it's awful. It really doesn't have the hallmarks of somebody who has to try and play as a left back. It really does smack of sort of a lack of understanding of his positioning, a lack of his ability to create a wall between himself, the attacker that he's playing against, but then also shield the rest of Arsenal from a potential pass on the inside. So as he sort of backs off, you begin to feel sort of a heightened level of danger from Mbeumo. And then obviously Mbeumo just has a little shimmy. Calafiori opens his legs. The shot comes right through him. And I think, as a commentator says, he embarrasses Raya. Raya was nowhere near that. And that wasn't good enough from Raya. But then I said this at the time. I think that Raya expects his defender to do his job. So he doesn't expect a shot at the near post with that level of, cleanliness. Like, it was clinical.
Ease. It's too easy.
It went through Calafiori's legs without a single touch off of the inside of either of his feet or his shins or whatever. It was just clean. There was no deflection whatsoever. And I don't think Raya expected that whatsoever. Calafiori should have done a much better job, but it kind of typified his performance throughout the game, I feel, until he got brought off.
Yeah, I definitely do think he was one of the worst players on the pitch. And I've not been confident in his defending since he joined. I think Calafiori, I think Zinchenko, in my personal opinion, they are fullbacks that would benefit in a Ruben Amorim type of system where you have three solid centre backs, almost like three centre backs, and you let them do what they go do, and you don't have to rely on them. There were some things thrown around by fans saying that, Gabriel should have stepped in to help Calafiori. I'm not going to lie. You shouldn't have to be stepping in. Gabriel
That's
does
his job.
enough mopping up already, like, in general. Calafiori is the first line of defense there before Gabriel. So he got beaten way too easily. And that was poor from him.
Mbeumo made him dance. And in that position he was in, he really shouldn't have been doing all of that movement. Mbeumo really didn't provide an extreme amount of danger compared to the relative positioning of his defender, especially when you consider that his defender was actually goal side and could actually move his body in such a way that made sure that Mbeumo couldn't move past him. And I say that as in Mbeumo couldn't have moved towards goal any more than he already was. Calafiori should have done much better.
Yeah, for sure. Nonteki, what was your thoughts on that initial lull when it went 1-0 down? And then, of course, I'm going to add to that. We almost went 2-0 down before the game flipped on its head, and Raya had butterfingers and let the ball through his hands and miraculously saved his own mistake off the line. So what was your assessment of that initial phase of the game with those two mistakes there and how we started?
Yeah, so maybe just judging the sort of the goal we conceded just very quickly, I agree with most of the points made as well. When Odegaard loses the ball, you kind of look at our defensive positioning and you kind of get what our shape is like in the sort of attacking phase. So you've got our back three, which is Gabriel, Saliba, and then Timber, and then Calafiori and Partey, sort of a midfield two. And I agree with everything said. I think looking back, there's nothing wrong with our positioning and recovering back to our box. But there's something about maybe Calafiori not backing himself enough in the one-on-one to really engage with Mbeumo, like as in Mbeumo. I don't know why I call him Mbeumo. There's something about having the confidence, your own ability to be able to say, like, this is my territory, you're not stepping here. At the very least, you'll see me shoulder to shoulder. And the only time he really engages with him is with the shot that he doesn't successfully block. So there's learning in that. Not long after, speaking about a pivotal point is David Raya's attempted save. It might have been a Damsgaard shot that he lets through his fingers. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, we're doing this again. We're doing this the hard way. And I don't know why we seem to do this. I think Raya probably had the wherewithal to recover, and thank God that he did. People look at it and maybe add it to his highlight reels as one of his great saves. He made some great saves, don't get me wrong, but it comes from his mistake. So I don't think we should paint it in a light of like that's a simple catch for most keepers. I don't think we should be putting it up there as like a worldy save. That said, we go up the other end of the pitch and score what I believe is a well-worked goal. And I think the theme for me with these types of games is when we play most teams, they do respect us, and that's why they sit deep. But I think there's some element of, I don't even want to call it contempt, in because they know that we can't break down low blocks. Essentially, we faced Ipswich at the Emirates the other day, and only seemingly got a goal out of them. But then Ipswich go and play Chelsea. In previous seasons, we've seen teams camp against us, but then sort of open up against United. And people say, "What do you mean? Why do you want teams to come on to you?" But you have to think about it in the broadest sense. Like a lot of these teams don't want to be expensive because when they are expensive, they can't really go toe to toe with us. And so, what I wanted to draw out is, I think all of our goals. I really think all of our goals are like pinball type goals.
They
And
really were.
there was no better example of it than the first goal. It was the low block again. We are going to face this every single game this season. So
Yeah.
what are we doing differently? Are we taking shots from outside the area? Are we committing a man to the overlap when they're not suspecting it? Are we hitting in crosses from the half spaces, for example? And this is one where after the ball ricochets quite a bit, Partey says, I need to step up and we need to turn this into something. Like, we don't need to worry. When you've got your players in all the defensive positions,
Yeah.
it's really hard for the other team to sprint 60 yards up the other end of the pitch and score. You need to be able to take a gamble and not worry too much about turning over possession. So the goal, I think, comes from the Partey shot, which should have been turned wide by the keeper, if I'm going to be honest. He sees it all the way, but it spills back into play, and then Gabriel Jesus is quick enough to sort of just nod it back across the keeper in the right direction and give us the goal. And I just really want to see us take advantage of this. If this is going to be the theme of our season, let's punish teams.
Honestly.
Yeah. And I think, it's been said a million times, but if you don't take your opportunity, if you don't take the chances, how can you score? So people can, which I haven't really heard, but I imagine there are people out there who's, it was an opportunistic game. It wasn't a game won on immense amounts of skill, and it definitely wasn't death by a thousand passes or whatever the case may be. But this is what you need to do in these games. We usually get in front of goal, want to pass a team to death, try and put it in the back of the net by a pass. Have a whack. Have an absolute whack. And
We're
sometimes
opened
you'll
up
catch a
totally.
keeper off guard. This is what happens. I've seen Raya do it. The Raya who was lauded as, the second coming of Christ instead of Ramsdale. But you've seen Ramsdale do it, you've seen Allison do it, you've seen multiple keepers do it. Sometimes the shots come in thick and fast, and where they should be turning it away, turning it out wide, they just don't manage to do it. They forget their goalkeeping 101s, they forget their goalkeeping fundamentals. They either have a panic or the shot's just too hard, too fast, and sometimes you can capitalize on it.
Yeah, and exactly that was case in point of why we need to, against low blocks where things are tough, death by a thousand passes isn't going to suffice. And all of our goals were, I feel like, scrappy in one way or another, maybe bar Martinelli's. Even in that, I feel like some of the build-up was scrappy, but you have to make do. The same way Ryan made a mistake, we need to force errors in this team. I also want to give shout out to Gabriel Jesus, who I think has 6 in the last 4, obviously because he scored a hat-trick in the cup.
Stat padding.
I was gonna say something disrespectful, but yeah, stat padding.
Well.
Let's give him confidence, man. Listen, Jesus is back. He's back. listen, he's trying. It was a scrappy goal, but at least he was there and he reacted quickly. And that's what you have to do as a striker. All but praise for him for doing that. I also wanted to mention, obviously, we'll speak about the latter 2 goals, but Partey yesterday. Do we need to lock down this guy's contract or give him a ball of Banku and Fufu? Like, what do we need to do to get this guy locked in to stay? Because I don't know if he's given us false hope with his fitness, his improved fitness, or what. And he's just playing out of his skin, or I don't know what. But he can speak to other clubs from yesterday, even from December. No, from yesterday, I think. Technically, since the window opened, he can talk to clubs. So his performance was just outrageous. Interceptions, passes, letting shots off, cutting off passing lanes. Just class. And you don't want to talk on Partey?
If I could, I don't know if you remember Theo Walcott. Maybe once or twice he used to do this thing where there was like regular Theo Walcott and there was like contract Theo Walcott. There was like signed the team Theo Walcott, and he would give us his best run of games, like proper purple patches, and in the run up to his contracts. And I'm so glad you mentioned Partey because it wasn't like one of his finest passing performances. I think there are games at which the physical battle is not quite. It's not a physical battle for Arsenal. It's more of about an artistic battle, and Partey normally prevails in those. He breaks lines and he'll play these odd passes on the outside of the foot and whatnot. But this is one he was keeping up physically, and he, like you said, he was making interceptions, he was making tackles, he was harassing people. His positioning was so good. Brentford pressed with the front 2 of Wilson and Wemo. And he did not mind saying, "Look, I'm dropping in. Let me have the ball in between them. We can recycle it. I can feint a pass. I can drive past them." He was amazing. So, my issue is, as well as he's playing, I don't think we can trust his body just yet. We should really be sort of gearing up Rice and Merino to be occupying that position. And so there seems to be there needs to be a bit of a job share there, and Partey's minutes will have to be managed. But whilst he's fit, yeah, I don't see too many players in the position of the league that are better.
For sure, I completely agree. Franz, quick on Partey, and then we'll stick with you actually to speak about Merino's goal, which came from a set piece. But yeah,
So interesting enough, I was going to just do exactly that. Speak a little bit about Partey and then segue to Merino. Partey, I think, as Non-Techie has already said, has been pretty phenomenal in the last few weeks. Again, as we know, it's coming up to contract time. Same way as, if it's coming up to bonus time or whatever the case may be, you may shift into a slightly different gear. He's been fantastic. What I think we need to do is give him sort of a rolling 1-year contract to just make sure he's consistently hungry and he's always playing at that level, because this is the one time where he hasn't decided to put his leg up and say, "Oh, I'm injured," and sort of take a break for a few games within the season. But I think he's been great. He's been phenomenal. Unplayable last game. You get to see why he's called the Octopus. He was literally just stomping everything out. People are not getting past him. Tackles, interceptions, passes, shots. I mean, he was the best player on the pitch. I know they gave the man of the match to Gabriel Jesus. What can you say? It's Christmas time. They say Jesus rises again. But for me, Partey is the man of the match. Now, moving on to Merino. Merino, for me,
just want to add your favorite player.
Don't ever put that on my name. Merino, for me, had an awful game, but that isn't an isolated incident. For me, he's been a slow and just uninspiring player. He doesn't seem to give very much consistently. Don't get me wrong, he has very brief moments where he looks like, a certain pass has been sprayed or certain bits of movement seem to be intelligent and etc. And I don't doubt that he's an intelligent player. What my issue is decision making at times, his slowness, his inability to sort of gel within that team. and also provide that drive, that impetus going forward. I don't see it. And to be honest, when this initial signing was being made, I said to myself, I don't understand why it's him that you have to go for. We wasted all summer doing it.
Yeah, I do see it.
Wasted all summer. The guy didn't even have a pre-season.
Yeah.
Stupidity on Arsenal's part. It just is.
Because I can, on that point, I can see how Rice fits into the left 8 position. Even if he's not a natural 8, I can see how maybe as a attack is technically your first line of defense. So if you're going to play a system where you're really going to make sure your attackers are pressing like the way Odegaard does, you want to be able to balance out in the left 8 position. And Rice can do that because he has stamina and an engine to chase. And you'll see in quite a few of our goals across the season, into last season as well, when Rice had his debut, we create a lot of goals from causing mistakes or forcing errors because the press is so good. Liverpool's Klopp teams were so good at doing that. City were very good at doing that. It's very effective. Merino I can't see him doing that. So offering a strong, convincing press. I can't really see him playing. What I will say is he does alternate with Martinelli or whoever's playing on the left into spaces, as in he does provide good passes and moves at times. But I don't think it's enough to warrant him starting. I don't get what edge he has when he's starting over Rice, basically, other than if you just want rotation. I don't know. I don't see it yet. He will improve, and he's this is what his second goal in the Prem. He got another goal on the score sheet, so we've got to praise him for that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not seeing it.
I mean, I even saw his celebration, and even that was lazy. Even that was slow and uninspired, and just I don't know what it is.
What's your problem, man?
No, I'm not. What's the funny thing is, I'm actually getting on his back. I don't know if you remember the celebration. Players don't have to celebrate. You really don't. It's nobody else's business. You do whatever you like. But Jesus Christ, it was worse than no celebration at all. It was just it. But again, it was so uniquely him. Devoid of any passion, devoid of any. It's just a floaty celebration, and it's like again, I don't know why Arteta keeps signing these players. It's a bit like, and this is probably gonna drive people crazy. It's a bit like when we got an Özil, where we need people to work around Özil.
Can we clip that?
Get a play.
Can we clip that?
No, you cannot. I'm not saying he's like Özil. I'm not saying he has that level of technique. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is, when it comes to the energy levels of certain players, you need other players to really be workhorses around them, to really be the drivers and the impetus and the vectors for the team. And we don't really have that. We don't. If you really had a Martinelli who liked to break lines and stretch lines and then allow Merino, therefore, to have space because their midfield press and their back line have separated in order to try and cover the attacking line bursting forward, that gives Merino space and time to think and then be able to pick out a deft pass that I reckon that he can do with flawless execution given the time and space. We don't do that, and we don't have that time and space. And we play in the Premier League where things can happen very quickly. Presses are quick. Teams know how to defend in this league. This is not Spain. So this ideology that, you're just going to play this slow, more thoughtful player, just it baffles me. And as a matter of fact, even Arteta, one of the most stubborn managers in the Premier League, has refused to play this guy multiple times, even when fit. So it says it all. To me, it says it all. But well done to him for the goal. Again, it was it was a scrappy mess, but that's what we need. That's what we need. We need the scrappiness. Not everything
I
has to
take it.
be,
I take it. Yeah.
Nah,
yeah,
we'll
not,
take
not
it.
everything has to be, overly thought out, overly meticulously planned. Football doesn't work like that. The game doesn't work like that. Most sports do not work like that. And this should be an eye opener for Arteta.
Mm.
It should be. It should be.
It's over.
Okay, Martinelli, who I think had a decent game, had the final goal of the match, which was created by Waneri. Actually, Waneri, interestingly, even for Merino's goal, he provided the corner that
That is
caused the
correct.
scramble. It was a very good delivery, actually. But Waneri again, running down the right side and cutting in to play a ball into a box, which I think dropped, and then it was a scrappy, terrible header clearance away by a Brentford defender, and Martinelli volleyed it one time into the net, if I'm remembering correctly. But what do you make of Martinelli's game yesterday? And do we think he's coming back into form? And do we think he can actually hold this position down when we need somebody to start scoring? Because Odegaard was off the pace yesterday. But then we saw goals from Martinelli, from three players, to be honest, who we wouldn't have trusted with an open goal maybe a month or two ago, honestly. So yeah, what do we think about him?
I kind of want to think about him in two different aspects. Goals are the currency of football, yes, but we do need to think about his all-round game and then think about his goal in isolation, which is very well taken. If you show me a clip of Martinelli from 2 years ago and then show me a clip of what he was like today, if you ask me from 2 years ago, this is Martinelli in the future, I'd probably tell you he hasn't progressed as much as I'd like him to. I think in the key areas, for the minutes he gets on the wing, he needs to be able to take his man on the outside. Pause. He needs to be able to use his left foot a lot more as well and more confidently. And he needs to be able to run in such a way where his man can find him. I know it's a different team and a different system, but there's this clip going viral of Trent Alexander-Arnold playing a stupid pass into Salah, one that's on the inside of the fullback and then curves back across him. And Martinelli never really commands. Sometimes the run dictates the pass. You see it. We used to see it a lot, maybe in the latter part of Wenger years. Martinelli doesn't do that. He just tends to sort of do the rigid touch the line. And I'm thinking, give your fullback more to think about. The first thing you need to think about is where you are on the pitch. The second thing is once you've got the ball, you need to think about the dispossessing you. And Martinelli hasn't really grown as much as I thought he would. So that probably leads me to the transfer windows being open. If I'm going to be honest, he's not my first choice in that front line. And I think between a striker and a wide forward, I would love to see a Nico Williams type profile, somebody who does those things, who can take on his man, who does make those runs, who does use his weak foot to devastating effect, to enable Martinelli to have the breathing room and sort of bed his way in. Because I think he's probably been overplayed, is not given the time to really learn in this position. So, well taken goal, but his all-round game, whilst he played well yesterday, he should really be kicking on in the way Saka has kicked on.
Yeah, and I think it's such a important point you make about who's making the run and who has the ball at the time, because I can't remember which ex-player turned pundit said this recently, but they were like, either their manager told them or one of the coaches, the striking coaches told them, if X player in the team has the ball and they're not really a final third connoisseur, conserve your energy. Show for the ball. Show for the ball, don't get me wrong, but don't make the burst and run. If an Odegaard type number 8 has the ball, you know what to do. Start
Get going. Yeah.
I feel like all of the top teams around us which have won the Prem have different ways of mobilizing and having that chemistry and understanding of when to go. Martinelli's just a Duracell bunny. He's running all the time somewhere, up, down, left, right, but without intent. And I feel like, again, the synergy on the left 8 to facilitate his movement, it's just not exactly connecting. I think maybe this is where Arteta maybe sees Merino developing, although I feel like his skill set is more akin to a control the pace of the game 6 rather than a ball progressing final third 8. So I'm not understanding, but I think Martinelli does need to go up the gears. And to be fair, actually, Francis, on that topic Richard just raised, in the window, if it was between a wide forward and a striker, what would you do?
Striker.
You'd go striker. Okay.
Striker straight away. Yeah, there's no need for any more wide players. Let me dial this back. There is a need. The problem, though, is that we can get as many wide forwards as we want. Without the ability to score those goals, we don't have anything. Now, we've seen what happens. I mean, Doku at times as a wide player for City has actually managed to break lines, go past defenders multiple times. He's capable. He has the pace. The problem is he has all the final third sort of get past the player decision making of a prawn cracker. So it's that part that he's lacking. But when it comes to burst and pass play, he can do it. But then who's on the end of that? Who's there to finish it off? We know Martinelli's shooting boots aren't there right now. Are you telling me that you're expecting a winger to come into Arsenal, try and bed in within the final few months of the season, and score how many goals? What, 15? I keep saying that these kind of wingers are not sort of readily available just anywhere. The type of tactics that you need are quite difficult to be able to get a player to actually do that. And then you're looking at having one on the left, one on the right, getting help again from the middle. And basically everything has to tick cohesively to allow this to work. The last thing about this is that the manager is a problem. We have played this kind of football before. We saw 15 goals from Martinelli, the same guy who we are now criticizing in this season, and for good reason, because of his lack of goals, his lack of ability to pick his head up. I mean, he looks down like he's trying to find pound coins on the ground, and we know it's a cost of living crisis. But he's awful as a professional football player. But okay, we're not going to get 15 goals out of him. Ødegaard is not going to reach the heights that he reached 2 seasons ago. Saka's injured. We're now relying on Waneri when this guy should have been playing from the beginning of the season as soon as Ødegaard got injured. We're going to ask him to pick up the slack. I was about to say Rashford. Sterling's out. So we know we have problems. Are we really saying that we're going to get another guy on the left or the right who's going to come and pick up the pace goal-wise and help balance that scale?
No.
I don't think that is happening.
We don't play in any way that benefits a striker. So in the system that we play with over the past 4 or 5 seasons, even going back to like maybe Emery's last season, I forget, Emil Smith Rowe and Saka were like joint top scorers. Then Emil Smith Rowe get injured. Then it's Martinelli after Saka. Do you know what I mean? Ideally, we change our system and play with a striker. But where teams sit with like a 5 and a 4 and we play through the wings, if we get a striker to the mirror, I agree with you. You can move JD to the side. Havertz can rotate and get minutes here and there. It's just for our style of play, we need to change it, and I can't see that happening.
Yeah,
I mean, with if we get a winger, who's who is he feeding?
That's the point.
No. The rest of the front line. I'm actually. I don't think I was even on this direction until Rich just mentioned it, because I think our problem, again, like as Montecchi was alluding to, the first season where Arteta got the team scoring by community, where Smith Rowe and Saka were scoring banging goals. As Montecchi also said, we're gonna have this low block problem all season, and it's gonna get worse as teams clutch on for relegation battles and trying to finish in top 4 and conference or whatever. We need to find a way to unlock teams, and I think all of us are 99% sure we're not going to get a striker of our liking in this January window. But I do think this team can be aided by having other options to break down a defense.
There are
So
release clauses.
there
There
are
are release clauses.
Fair, fair.
Any deficiency we face from January onwards with regards to a striker is the fault of Arsenal Football Club, as it has been in every previous season. There are no excuses. If we sit there and say, "Oh, we're waiting for the perfect guy," well, we've been waiting since Aubameyang left.
Nah, that's facts. That's facts.
The guy left, and you could have said, people have their different opinions on this. You could have said good riddance. You could have said whatever. Besides the point is, what do you do from there? Who do you get to replace him?
Yeah.
We're still waiting.
No, that's a valid point. They haven't done, the club have not done what they've needed to do. I think it is an interesting debate because I do think we can get goals in the team, but again, you're right. A focal point would help, but will that focal point, especially if they don't have Prem experience, be able to break down the Prem low block in our team that doesn't play to striker strengths? I think, as non-techie referred to, which I think is a very important point. But regardless, we still need to sign one of those two, in my opinion. That's the bottom line. And there's no excuses for Arsenal. Like, we have to, and if we don't, then Arteta's got to be held accountable, and the club. Yeah.
Can I just say, I actually agree with France. If we could sign a striker and then sort of mold our game around him, I think that's the best of all worlds, by the way.
Agreed.
More, maybe I just started on the Martinelli side and I've looked at him as somebody he needs to sort of minute share so we can get the productivity on the left like they do on the right.
My other point on that is just that I feel like if we did sign a striker, that would probably be a third choice option or something. I don't think we'd have the time to make the system, the rest of the players feed the striker in a system that works. I think we'd take too long when we're in the business end of the season. I think we need somebody who can go. This is their fault.
Then go out there and sign a top level striker. Right now, if we tried to play through the middle, Jesus will probably take a bad touch. This is incredible from a guy who 2 seasons ago touch was phenomenal. This guy can bring a ball down from the air while his back is against the 6'1", 6'2" player. That 6'1", 6'2" player is not getting anywhere near the ball. Then he would take a touch turn, look for a pass, or he would dribble out of the way, wait for people to come in, try and find it. And he was just unplayable. Silky, if he gets the ball in the box, he's dancing through people. That Brazilian samba. But now, as some people have been saying about Martinelli, he also looks like he's from Panama. He's not from Brazil anymore.
What?
Yeah, this is what from Panama. He's never been Brazilian a day in his life. Smuggled over, but it's. I think we need, but then the real problem for me is Kai Havertz. If you give the ball to Kai Havertz has moments where he looks like he could be something, but then every other time he's looking to shirk responsibility. He doesn't want the ball. He shows up in good pockets, but he doesn't really want it, and then he hides, or he receives it and looks to pass it off as his very first motive. And you look at that and you say, that's not what you want from a striker. So we 100% need someone. We need somebody who can be a threat through the middle, and that can relieve pressure even on the guys on the wing, because it's a different focal point. It's a different distraction for the defensive line to actually have to try and pick up. Nobody's afraid of Havertz like that. They're not.
No.
All they do is literally line up to defend Saka. They're not afraid of Martinelli.
No.
They're not afraid of Merino. They're not. If you just manage to mark Ødegaard and Saka, you defeated Arsenal. You have.
That's most of our games. That's literally most of our games until
you're cruising.
No, but it's a massive point though. Like, it's a joke, but it's not a joke. Like, honestly, them pictures of Ben White and Gabriel and Saliba staring down the opponents in the tunnel, yeah. That's aura right there. If Mourinho's looking at you in the tunnel or Havertz looking at you in the tunnel, you think, bro, like, what are you looking at? just watch your boots and then tie your laces, man. Just keep it moving. You know what I mean? Nah, real talk. We're not winning the game in the tunnel. Like the mental, psychological game with this attacking line. We're not. If you see Liverpool's attacking line, even with people like Gakpo, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Gakpo, McAllister, Szoboszlai, like
Jota, Diaz. They've got true ballers, and this is what I'm saying. We're not going to be able to prep a winger like Salah. We don't counter-attack. We don't move forward with intent. We don't like. There's nothing that we do that's dangerous from a forward line perspective. And again, it is gobsmacking considering the football that we played 2 seasons ago. And I know people keep saying, teams got wise to it. I don't think they got wise to it enough. I don't think it was anything to do with that. I think Arteta looked at it and said, you know what? We need balance. We're front heavy, and it could cause injuries. It could cause risks in terms of letting in goals, etc., etc., etc. And he basically just turned into one of the biggest cowards football may have seen. And he doubled back on his own principles and allowed us to become a defense-first team that doesn't counter at all and can only move the ball forward like 2 people playing chess. And I'm not talking about the kind of chess where you move the piece and then have to slap the timer and move in quick succession. I'm talking about the long, boring, drawn-out games.
Honestly,
those extremely long thoughts.
I actually think our half of the pitch, our bottom half of the pitch, is completely fine. I don't think there's any problems. Like, I'd say the best teams in the world have, like, especially the ones that have played 4-3-3 and just devastating football. They have a solid back four, 2 really good fullbacks. We're still going through that process on the left side anyway. A solid 6, like a solid 6 that can basically do it by themselves. But then it's that second half of the pitch. When you looked at your Barca's, prime Barca's, you ain't got to worry about what Busquets or Xavi's did. The rest of everybody in the latter half of the pitch, they're doing their own thing. They're running rampant. You don't even need to think about going into their third because they're locking it off. I just feel like we always falter at this piece of the puzzle where it's just like, Arteta managed to get a tune out of these players to score goals and knit things together, even against low blocks. I don't know why we've lost that so drastically with the addition of a striker. We've lost that spark we had with the Smith Rowes and Sakas and Odegaard scoring with the addition of Havertz. We've got to sort it out. And it's all mad.
I've said it's because he doesn't understand football.
Yeah,
I've said it. You can't have change so drastically from one extreme to the other. Like right now, I believe Liverpool have the best attack. Liverpool have the best defense. They've lost the least games. Like, this is a team of balance, and this guy has only just walked into the team. I've said before, as a manager, when you come into a team, especially if the team is half decent, one of your first rules should be to work with the tactics and everything that you've had or that the team have had before, and then slowly start to implement your own style over the course of, say, 2 seasons, 3 seasons. Slot has come in and has just said, right, I know that this has worked before. I understand how the game was played under Klopp because he studies the game. And he's come in and he's implemented basically the same style, has tweaked things so that he plugs certain holes and certain gaps. But fundamentally, it's mostly the same. Liverpool do still concede goals. It's just that they will blast you away with the number of goals they score.
It's true. And that's what it.
It's a blamming. This
is the fact. They come in and they smash and grab. And then they go home.
Yeah.
Back to Merseyside.
Even if you score against them, you're not confident you're winning that game. Even if you score 2, you're probably still not confident you're winning that game.
Listen, There have been teams that have scored first, and all they've done is sort of anger Liverpool. They've woken up the beast, and Liverpool have gone and just slapped them around after their 2 goals have been scored.
Yeah.
And it's like you can see Salah wants every single goal. He wants every single goal. It's like he's saying, you took the Ballon d'Or away from me last time. Let's see you do it again. Because I am coming for every single goal. After I put this one in, take the Ballon d'Or away now. After I put the next one, take the Ballon d'Or away now. Diaz looks like he's on fire. I remember Cody Gakpo didn't look great to me when he first got there.
Yeah.
He's showing improving. He wants everything he can get. Jota's injured a lot, but he wants everything
But
he
he
can get
comes
when he comes in.
hits the ground running.
Gravenberch dropped into the 6. He's hungry.
I can't believe that one.
Different type of 6 as well.
That's it. Van Disney
Yeah.
back to Van Dijk now. He's transitioned back to what he was before.
Yeah, man.
He's on fire. Konate, when he's fit, he's on fire. So it's like the players want it. Slot's giving them the freedom to play, to express themselves, to really go for it. And you can see that when the ball ticks forward, they get excited. They're galvanized. They want, and they just get the ball forward direct.
They can smell
And then
blood.
you come and look at Arteta. Bro.
Yeah. My hunch is we will start to smell blood, akin to the way we did second half of last season.
You can't be a team of half seasons and half.
No, I agree. I don't think that's the tactic. I do think we will, though. I don't think that's the way the game should be played, and I think it's bad management.
There was no gold stake this year.
I say the first time it happened, I could kind of understand it to some extent, but we need to learn lessons. Arteta needs to learn as a manager. We can't be making the same mistakes twice. Brighton, the weekend. It's going to be a tough game. We're going away from home to the Amex. How do we line up? That's what I want to ask and get into. I'm going to share the lineup builder now. I can hopefully, fingers crossed, let's see how we can. The MacBook Air is flying past the old Pro.
Why are you asking us how we're going to set up? You've already put about 6 players in. This guy.
These are non-negotiables.
This guy says
this is our our wonky spine of the team.
You're asking us to fill in the blanks. This is not building the team.
Like people say, your spine should be solid, but this is our wonky spine. Honestly, our spine ain't even straight.
But you're right. This is the thing. We don't even have options here. This is definitely how it has to be. This is how it has to be.
Okay, so let's start with the back line. Timber, 5 yellows, and actually France made a good point that I'm gonna call Timber an idiot here because he's gotten some yellows for doing dumb time wasting, and the whole team is doing time wasting, which I'm wondering if this is instruction. It's starting to get on my nerves. Odegaard yesterday with a free kick or set piece, he was taking his sweet time. The ref cautioned him.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Didn't book him, but like warned him, like, hold on, you best hurry up. Raya's got in it this season. Timber's had foul throws. Anyway.
Something tells me that this is part of Arteta's petulance. Something tells me that his reaction to the league admonishing him and punishing him over the course of a number of seasons, which I do think is somewhat unjust, actually. But I think that he is now constantly trying to come up with new ways to rub the league the wrong way and sort of find ways to annoy opposition and do X, Y, and Z. But at the end of the day, it just feeds into a lack of discipline. I don't like to use the word discipline, but it basically just feeds into the way our players act on the pitch and then end up picking up cards. And I think it basically speaks for itself. We saw it at the beginning of the season and we're still seeing it now with these stupid cards. No, what are you doing?
No. Hold on. Lineup builder. Okay, let's do this quick and then do match predictions.
All right, cool. Put Partey back and then we'll continue.
What would you do? Obviously, Rice was on the bench last game.
Don't say Partey at right back. This is why you removed him from midfield.
We don't have a right back. We don't have a right back.
Don't do this.
We don't.
Don't do it. Move Raya to right back and play Neto.
Hilarious.
And then Partey in midfield because I'm not having any of it. He was amazing.
I know.
He was
It feels like a double punishment that you're putting that right back, so it's a square peg in a round hole, and then you're losing up our best like fulcrum in that midfield. But it
And I
is where
keep
we are.
saying, touch wood and every other
Hey,
material.
pause. Hey, yo.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo,
Hey,
pause
yo.
me.
Hey, yo.
Hey,
Hey,
yo.
yo.
Hey, yo, pause.
We need to kick you off the chat, man.
Yeah, man. Bro.
He didn't even say pause. Wait,
Yo, this is crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Okay, so France said Partey right back, and
I
then
never
left
said
back.
that.
Who we go with?
I never said that.
I go with MLS or Calafiori.
What was that guy's name?
Neto.
Young kid. He can play at right back.
Oh,
Heaven.
hey, Heaven. Yeah.
Heaven. Put him at right back. We'll put Partey in
Go
the
away,
same
man.
today. I don't understand this madness. All right,
bro,
left back.
bro, Evan ain't even got a picture. Look at whenever he ain't even got a picture of this lineup.
Well, there is not got a picture. It has to be Miles Lewis Skelly. I'm
Yeah.
not taking anything else.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought we were
Maybe
done
the hyphen.
with all of these models and
Is he even in this team? That's actually jokes.
what if you just write Skelly?
Yeah.
This is hilarious, man.
Here
Wow. Today he typed
Oh,
it
wow.
in. Today.
Francis has been in here, man.
It's
All right.
crazy.
CDM, who we doing? Jorginho, Merino, Rice.
This is so painful because I feel like Rice needs to be in the left, but because oh my
Hey,
god.
I'm loving this for you. You're so stressed about
Do you think this is the pain Arteta goes through about Edu there?
No, because the
I
idiot
don't
that
think he
signed all
does.
these people and
I think,
refused to.
unfortunately, he's kind of made this for himself. You signed Havertz as a left eight. We all knew it wouldn't work. We said, okay, fair enough. He's not a left eight, making your nine. And then you signed Merino as your left eight. And that could have been
No.
Nwaneri's position. Sorry, I have to say this. I don't like us getting in the hype of, oh, we've got this young kid, he has to play. We don't know if he's ready. But Nwaneri's probably showing he's capable enough and he's got the skill set that maybe some of our other midfielders don't have for that left eight position, which is why I'm now more confident in putting him there. He can't play 2,000 minutes in the league, though. He can't be starting games. But yeah, sorry, France.
He should start. He should start after all. Who else? Who
Yeah,
else
but
is better
he's
than
at his
him?
position now.
He's got better attributes than Havertz. He's more forward
I
thinking than
agree.
Havertz. He's got better end product than Havertz. There's no
Bro,
He
reason he shouldn't be
started,
in the
man.
team.
He's been
Stick him. Stick
when
him.
yeah,
Neri,
he can't play. He can't play left eight and right wing.
when Neri literally completed more take-ons yesterday than Havertz, I think in the whole of 2024, probably.
Wow.
Honestly,
I'm not surprised. Havertz doesn't take people on.
I
No.
He
bet.
turns backwards and then looks
Okay.
to pass along the line.
You know what?
Anyway.
So who we put in CDM 6?
You know what? Jorginho's so slow though.
Alright.
This is what he's in my head as
Jorginho
well.
it is, man.
Yeah, it's Jorginho. Tell me who's better, man. You know what it is? He's quite good with his progressive passing. You know,
He is.
like as a player, not that he's ever had pace, but when your pace goes, other things need to come to the fore. It's like, I don't know, if you lose your sense of smell, your eyesight becomes a superpower. Jorginho has a little bit of that.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
got a little bit of Thomas Partey where he won't just pass sideways for the sake of passing sideways. If he can release and trigger, he can have that verticality. And also, don't forget in our attack, in our build-up play, Partey moves into that midfield anyway, so we may not use that as much. That may be a case for
Yeah,
Rice actually.
but Jorginho can't run. That's the thing. I think he has to go there. Rice has to go here.
Left eight.
Rice, put in there. Put him there. Type it in. Rice.
Oh, that Rice.
Every other day we order rice.
I was wondering why he was touching the line just then. Oh gosh.
Just put him there in place of Martinelli. All right, okay.
All right.
I guess it's
Yeah.
got to be Martinelli. I mean, he's
Okay.
scored. Trossard's last game wasn't great.
He's a
Oh,
weird
actually,
one.
It
tell a
was all right.
lie. It was yeah, but the problem with Trossard is he seems to have good spells of play, and then when he does have good spells of play, he tends to have good spells, but then he drops off a bit, and it's
Yeah.
just not consistency. And weirdly enough, when somebody else gets subbed on and he's still playing, he seems to play worse, which I
Yeah.
don't
So
understand.
he's a sorry, just very quickly. I think maybe Bart Odegaard is probably one of the best technicians in the team,
For
One
but
sure.
then
hundred
he'll
percent.
come on and then act like he's wearing Puma Kings from '96. Like it's just terrible.
Clogged up with mud from a pitch
Yeah, it does.
in
It
Hackney
does.
Marshes.
Exactly.
Honestly,
Hackney does. Hackney Marshall's rather.
like, again, I don't know. I would advocate in games for him to play left eight, where
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
honestly where you're not as defensively responsible like the way our wingers are having to track back and defend, but at the same time you can be technical and still pose a threat and provide passes in danger in the final third. Like I feel like sometimes he might be better suited out there because he ain't got pace like
Yeah.
that. He ain't got pace. So on the wing, he's wasted a lot of the time, unless he's skilling someone up and dropping the shoulder hard on someone. That's the only way he's affording space down there. But yeah, okay. Up front, Havertz, Jesus. I feel like we know.
Jesus all day. Havertz is unwell apparently as well. So yeah,
Gyökeres.
Yeah.
so
Go
it could
get
be
the deal
scheduled.
done. Let's go get him. Jesus Gyökeres.
Oh,
Nah,
yeah. What a player that would be.
great
Yeah,
player. All right, well.
Jesus.
These are the lineups, people. Herrera and goal. Back four with Skelly back in for Calafiori, Partey at right back, Jorginho in CDM, Odegaard Rice as the eights, Waneri filling in for Saka, Jesus and Martinelli. And lastly, score predictions, guys. What are you thinking? Brighton away, Amex.
Let me just say one thing. Interestingly enough, apart from Partey at right back, this isn't actually a bad team at all.
It's not, no.
It
It's not.
isn't at all. It's just the way they will be used will
Yeah.
dictate how bad they are,
Yeah, no. I
how
agree. Like,
lackluster they are.
you look at our team on paper, they should be gelling better than they are, but it's
I think
there's a
that's the
massive
that's the
problem.
best point. Yeah,
There's a massive problem going on. Yeah. Score predictions. I think this is going to be a tough game,
very tough.
but
2-1 for me.
2-1. Okay, I'll go
That's
3-1.
where I'm 2-1 for me.
I'll go 3-1 again.
2-1 Arsenal.
I think it will be tough,
Wait,
but
Joshua, did you say 3-1 Brighton?
no. You see,
Joshua, even I have more faith in the team than that.
And also, just before we end off the podcast, it's been a good one today. Definitely like, subscribe, do your thing, be a part of the NLG fam. I wanted to share this. Just an interesting point. This doesn't mean anything because we're still far behind. Arsenal are 1 point behind last season's after 19 games played, considering our bad start, which is very interesting. I would have thought we would have been well off it. Obviously, this doesn't matter because we haven't capitalized on times where teams were dropping points and we could have capitalized on Liverpool dropping points. But it's just interesting that it's similar and the stakes are this high as they continue to the stakes continue to get higher and higher each season. But quite an interesting takeaway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's phenomenal. Phenomenal stat padding. At the end of the day, we've seen what's happened this whole season. Again, when you look at the league, we've drawn a number of games. It's not a crazy amount. We've lost only a couple of games, not a crazy amount. However, you've seen the performances. You've seen how long, drab the season has been. You've seen how many, opportunities we've wasted. How many times we've come close to losing games. you've seen how badly it could have gone. We've seen certain teams being in and around us that really shouldn't be anywhere near. We know that City have dropped off, and that should be us that is taking the reins. We've seen a manager that's just come into to a team and has taken them right to the top of the league. We've seen how they've played. We've seen how, in contrast, we've just been pretty awful performance-wise. So, yes, okay, the stats will tell you about last season, this season, whatever. Let's also remember that last season was not a great season. We need to put that into context. We need to remember that we're a half a season team. We need to remember we're galvanized by gold stakes and sun out in Dubai. So it wasn't a good season. People that are saying, oh, okay, well, look, actually, it's not that bad. Have a look. This means that we're actually pretty good. No, last
No,
season was
that's
not a
not
good
what I mean.
season. No,
Last season,
I know that's not what you're saying.
no, yeah. No. I hate you.
That's
Last
what you're
Some
season,
people
saying.
are out here trying to use that as a
yeah.
counterweight to people complaining
Mm.
about, the
Last,
performances and blah blah blah
yeah.
blah blah. But it isn't. It
Last
really
season
isn't.
was a good season. It should have been a great season,
It can't
barring
have been a
some.
good season if you have half a season of football.
Well.
The end
Put it this
result,
way: we had a better season in terms of days at the top of the league than any other team, based on performances that would win you games, and we still didn't win the league based on some
but
stupidity.
but remember that last season was not a good season for a lot of teams. A lot of teams performed very poorly last season. That's the first thing. The second thing is we had a pretty horrible half of the season. We know about the games against Fulham and Aston Villa, etc., etc. That's not how you perform, especially not if you're a team that wants to win the league. We know that City basically were in like almost cruise control. They weren't really afraid of us. We know that all of this is the case, and we know that we came out of that league with zero trophies. We came
Yeah,
out of that season with zero
and
trophies.
that's what
That
didn't
wasn't
make it.
that wasn't a good season. It was a good half season. The second half of the season, that was good, except that we bottled a couple of games, and that lost us the ability to actually take the league. So it's like I wouldn't call it good. It was a good half a season. Overall, you could call it average. I don't know if you remember the start of that season. Do you remember how many sort of own goals and things there were because the team didn't understand the system? Do you remember how Havertz was doing nothing for basically half a season? And then in the second half of the season, he came back, scored 12 goals because Arteta moved him after fans have been crying out for him to be removed from rotation so that he's out of the firing line. Forget people saying, oh, his rubbish is good. Remove him from the firing line of scrutiny. Meanwhile, Arteta was telling us, if you don't support him, you don't support the club, basically.
Yeah.
That's just not a good season. It's not.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't see
anyway,
it.
I think it was, but we can go around the houses about this, but yeah, we lacked again. Arteta failed to do the thing he needed to do at the right times, and we made the wrong striker signing. I'm just gonna say it flat out. I don't think he's gonna improve that much to create the difference for our season. But listen, people, those are the predictions. I think we've got 2-2-1s here and 1-3-1 from myself. And let's hope we can get points against Brighton,
Yeah.
and let's see
I
how.
hope you're right.
I hope I'm right. Let's
Happy
see
to
how the
hear on
transfer
that.
window begins to unfold. Probably won't unfold by any means, but let's see how it develops over the next couple of weeks. And we have a tough January, so let's keep it up. Listen, people, we'll catch you on the next pod. Appreciate you lot listening in, and we'll catch you on the next one.
All right.
Take
Take
care.
care, guys.
In a bit.